We've been checking in with RBC's top biotech analyst as he charts the virus. CNBC's Meg Tirrell back with us with Kennen, MacKay. Once again, good evening to you both. Meg?
Hi, Scott and Kennen. Thanks for being back with us again. You know, you've been helping us for 6 weeks now, kind of place where we are on the curve as we tried to flatten it. In your most recent update, you point out we're on our 10th consecutive day of the U.S. with fewer than 30,000 new cases in what you call a post-peak plateauing trend. We just heard from Dr. Gottlieb earlier that we are not out of this, and in fact, we're in for this for some time now. Tell us what your modeling currently shows.
No, I got to say, I totally agree with Dr. Gottlieb, and I want to say thank you so much for having me on again. What we're seeing in terms of the U.S. Spread of coronavirus is drastically different than any other country around the world. We're seeing sort of a plateau after peaking really towards the beginning of April here. And that, again, drastically different than what we've seen in European countries as well as some Asian countries like South Korea that have seen really steady and dramatic declines after their peaks. So we've seen sort of a plateau in daily new cases, sort of insinuating a steady climb upward in the total cumulative number of cases that are out there. Again, dramatically different than anything else.
Well, one thing that I think you've pointed out is that might be just the fact that the U.S. is such a big and diverse country. So whereas we're seeing one thing in New York, we might be seeing something totally different elsewhere. What are you seeing regionally around the country?
Yeah, no, that's a terrific point. Something that, again, could be happening, a reason that sort of at the national level, day-over-day cases is staying flat. But, you know, while New York is declining, we've seen things re-accelerate, for instance, in Massachusetts. Also some sort of lumpiness in California that filled in for some of the declines that we've seen in New York. So I think that point is valid. It could be, as the U.S. begins to emerge from this, it'll be a little bit of sort of a smoldering spread of the virus with some hotspots waxing and meanwhile some hotspots waning.
Now, one of the charts we've been showing shows your modeling with sort of a worst case, a base case, and a best case scenario. And we've sort of been tracking around the base to the best case scenario so far, it seems like. In your note today, I noticed we seemed more on the base case track, which really sort of looks like nationally we're going to keep at that plateau in terms of new cases instead of the best case, which would be a steady decline like you described for a country like South Korea. What would we need to do more than we're doing to get to that best case and really see the cases decline faster?
Yeah, you know, not completely clear why the U.S. has diverged from some of the trends that we've seen in other countries, why we're not seeing that decline post-peak within sort of the same time frame after the initiation, the enaction of quarantine and shelter-in-place protocols. And part of it could be, again, while the U.S. is so huge, while some areas are growing, others are declining. But the reason for that isn't clear. Part of it could just be behavioral. People are much more prone to actually really do shelter in place and do it very, very thoroughly and seriously if it is in their backyard. We've obviously seen that around New York City, but not clear how that's sort of being done, how strict that is being followed across the rest of the country. And it may just be that people take it much more seriously when it is impacting sort of their local area. Plenty of other hypotheses around that, but that one is certainly one that could explain it.
You've also pointed out, looking at other countries, typically in Europe, they wait for a 50 to 60% decline in new cases to start to ease their restrictions. And you say we're in the U.S., we're about 2 to 3 weeks away from that. So do you expect within 3 weeks we might be headed there as a country, lifting our restrictions more broadly?
You know, again, not clear. The trends in the U.S. are drastically different than what we've seen in Europe. In Europe, after peaking to get to that 50 to 60% decline, it's only taken several weeks over there. And again, those plateaus, the plateau that we're seeing here hasn't been seen in those European countries anywhere near the extent that we've seen here. So, you know, totally not clear at this point, I have to say, unfortunately.